Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I won't take up too much of your time. Firstly, I'd like to thank ministers for the really excellent work they've done over COVID. We, on the Isle of Wight, have had an additional £100 million in the course of the last year in loans and grants to support businesses and individuals. And that money has flowed pretty quickly through the Isle of Wight Council. And I'm very grateful for the Isle of Wight Chief Exec, Council Leader, and in fact the entire team of the island who've done a really great job. As ministers know, and I'm thank my honourable friend from Thornbury Yate for his attention to this matter, and indeed for the entire ministerial team, because I do talk to them quite a bit on this issue. As he knows, we've been in discussions about the fair funding formula in regards to the Isle of Wight. The Isle of Wight was mentioned in the fair funding formula review specifically as an island, recognising potential additional costs. And it's the first time in as far as I can see, in modern local government history, that the Isle of Wight has actually been recognised as an island. So it's an important moment for us, and I'm grateful for ministers who've been dealing with us, including the Chancellor when he was in a previous job. It is hugely frustrating that the fair funding formula has been put on hold. We completely understand the reasons why, and clearly ministers are acting in good faith when they say they've had to put it on hold because of the COVID crisis, and they will look to get back to instigating that fair funding formula as soon as possible. And I also understand, having talked to my honourable friend just this morning, I understand the reasons why we can't tinker with the current system. Indeed, it would probably be illegal and open to challenge if they tried to do so and apply some additional fair funding formula to the island now. So what the Minister agreed this morning, I'm very grateful for, which was a funding package that is going to be used for research to be conducted by Whitehall, by his ministry, and the Isle of Wight Council to investigate the true additional cost of providing public services on the island. I know that the Minister is aware of the work of Portsmouth University, but I fully accept it's right and proper that for the government to consider to make sure that it's spending taxpayers' money wisely, that it wants to commission additional work. Just to remind the Minister, the University of Portsmouth found 3 reasons for additional costs of providing public services to the same standard as the mainland on the island. That was the lack of spillover of public services. So as an example, we can't share a fire engine with Portsmouth until somebody designs a fire engine that can float on water, because we're separated from the mainland. Secondly, there are additional costs of providing services to communities on an island, additional transport costs, but also economies of scale. Mainland, maybe care home providers won't necessarily want to come and set up on the Isle of Wight. And thirdly, there's the perceived separation factor that may prevent skilled workers either from moving to the island or indeed skilled workers moving from the island to the mainland. So I'm very grateful for the discussion we had this morning and for his promise of funding. I think it showed great diligence and also creative thinking on his part. The one thing I would ask, which I probably should have asked this morning and didn't, if we show that there are additional costs, which there undoubtedly are, and those are caused by separation by sea, and the aim of the fair funding formula is actually to be fair, I just want a commitment within reason that where those additional costs have been identified or will be identified for the research that his department and the council is going to do, that there is therefore a commitment by government to meet those additional costs. We are not talking, certainly by his budget, large sums of money, but even a few £1 million in additional cost would be very valuable for the Isle of Wight local government, which is the smallest unitary. And clearly, I repeat and echo the words of our right honourable friend, the member for Newark, opening this debate, that this is about fairness. And if we can't provide the same level of services that the mainland has because of the additional costs of being an island, it obviously is important for us for those additional costs to be met. One final point I would say, and it's partly relevant to the relationship with his ministry, but also others. If the government wants to treat the Isle of Wight as being part of the mainland, then it needs to provide a fixed link. We're very happy being an island, but the dynamic of islands are different from that of the mainland. So if we are given targets which are shared with effectively treating us as part of the mainland, being it for housing or anything else, then there is an understanding potentially that the government needs to connect us with the mainland. If we're not connected to the mainland, then the government needs to understand that there is an island dynamic, which has an impact on society, but also impact on us economically. So for another example would be that we have an unavoidably small hospital on the Isle of Wight because we need a hospital because we don't have a fixed link to the mainland. But that hospital is not as economically viable as other district general hospitals because our population size is different from that provided by other district general hospitals. So that is just a generalised plea to this minister, but also government in general, that islands have to be treated and understood as islands. But I'm delighted and very grateful for his call this morning and the agreement that we will have, I think £50,000 he mentions, to work on research to make sure that the government is satisfied that the additional costs about which we on the island talk are genuine and therefore should be a matter for public support. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.